IT team, can we start off now?
Prashant, can I?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So myself, Ankita Nayak, research scholar, Aegis School of Data Science. So today I would like to welcome our alumni, Mr. Abhishek Gupta. So he's a data scientist with PNB Metlife with over 5 years of experience. And he has also worked in companies like Barclays, BharatPe and Pharmeasy. So today's topic would be based on applications of machine learning in the life insurance industry. So we would like to hear from you. So over to you, Mr. Abhishek Gupta.
Thanks, Ankita, for the warm welcome. I want this session to be interactive.
Yes.
It's up to all the students here. And before starting the session, I have a few questions. Are the students attending the courses virtually these days, or how it is?
No, it's off campus.
It's on off campus.
It's on campus. On campus.
And are they through with their machine learning course?
Yes, they have started with the machine learning.
They have started with the machine.
Yeah.
These were the two questions. And meanwhile, I'll have some questions in between. You can always feel to answer them. And
Sure.
yeah. So when we say that life insurance industry, how life insurance industry exactly works. So there is an insurer, that is a company, and it insures upon your life. And how does the company makes money? Knowing that people do not die up to a certain age. That's how life insurance industry makes money. And why there is a need of machine learning in life insurance industry at first. So there are a lot of cases where there is fraudulent claims regarding one's death. There and the policy amount are huge. So we have to pay huge claims money in order to settle those claims. So we lose a lot of money on that side. In order to curb those expenses, there's a need of machine learning here. So that's the applicability of machine learning in life insurance industry. So how do we go about it? So there has been two broad categories of machine learning applicability in this company that I work for. And early claims is one area, and fraud detection is another area. So what do we mean by fraud detection, and what is the exact use case of it? So as I explained earlier, people put their fraud records into our systems to get the claims done. And one use case that was very interesting was that people who want to do fraud and want to take claims money, they go to hospitals and where they know that this person is going through a terminal illness and he will die within few weeks or few months. So as soon as they offer some money to the family of those people and take policy on their name, knowing that he will die soon, the company will have to honor the claim. So this is one type of fraud that we aim to detect. And these types of frauds are very difficult to detect into the system. So exactly how do you go about when you start the problem? It's very different from when we study in academics or our Kaggle data sets. So first problem that we always face is data preparation. So what variables you would be choosing? Would it be internal data? And sometimes what happened that you have to collaborate with external vendors like Civil IIB. These are few of the external data providers that you have to collaborate with in order to get the data, and you have to check your POC and hypothesis that whether it would be useful for your model. And it takes a lot of time. It's not always about modeling. That's one part. The modeling comes very next. It's on very later stage. First of all, you have to go about experimenting where you can collect your data. And sometimes external variables perform good, and sometimes they do not. So in order to procure external variables, there are costs associated with it. For civil, I worked in BharatPe. We worked with civil for some records. So around, if I remember correctly, for 1 lakh customers, they providing credit information, they took around 5 lakh rupees. So it's approximately 5 rupees for each customer. And after procuring data, it was only few of the variables were useful. So you have to justify the cost that you incurred to the company and stakeholders. So it's always you suggestible to do a POC on the external data on very small number of customers and see if their data is making sense for your use case. So yeah, here. So in fraud area, when we started building model, we started exploring the data preparation stage. And once the data we collected from the internal sources, and we also tried data from external sources as well. So once we have the data with us, you have to go on eliminating the data, eliminating the features. So there would be features that would not make any sense, like features that are duplicates. And the what I mean by duplicates, that exact columns are same. So you won't want that in your data set. And there would be some features which are quasi duplicates. What I mean by quasi duplicates, that they have more than 95% information same. So we always have to remove such type of features. And feature selection is a very crucial step. This can break or make your model, literally. And there are different types of feature selection techniques. First, you can always remove these duplicate features, quasi duplicate features, etc. Other than that, what you can do is depends if you use a regression technique, and your output variable is continuous, and the feature that you are selecting is categorical. So up to 2 categories, you can use t-test to test the importance between the variable and the uh, output variable. So you can use t-test, and uh, if the output is also categorical and the feature is also categorical, you can use chi-square test. So these statistical tests would be very, very important in proving the feature importance. So, and you should be very thorough with it. In industry, the statistical tests are always used, and you should be very, very well aware about them. And they provide good results as well. And another thing that techniques that are frequently used these days is using decision tree feature importance. So you can make a small decision tree, excuse me, model, and check the feature importance, not to build the model using a decision tree, only to check the feature importance. So in scikit-learn, there is a feature importance uh, variable feature in each of the decision tree and XGBoost and other types of techniques. So you can always check features through those techniques. And sometimes what happens that the algorithm you are using is suppose you have choose X algorithm. It will have separate set of features that are coming out to be important, and the another algorithm will have different kind of algorithms, different kind of features that are coming out to be important. So these type of issues there is no rule book to it. You'll have to experiment and see that from where you'll get better results. And after feature selection, there is a where you will have to prepare the EDA that that will you will have to showcase to the stakeholders, right? How you are going about the features, what inferences did you make from your analysis be in this step, and why you selected those features, and are there anomalies in the data, and how you are uh, going to uh, what we say, impute them. So in theory, when thought that imputing with mean and median would be a good approach, and in practice it is used, but not much. So there is a separate technique for feature imputation for each feature. So uh, there is no fixed technique as such that only mean and median mode imputation would work. So you'll always have to think about it, and it's very time consuming, and very time consuming. And the most important part that I forgot to tell, that you have to estimate and project planning you is has to be very strong. We data scientists are sometimes very good with algorithms and internal knowledge of feature selection, etc., but we are not thorough with project planning and how to estimate the timelines of this project and different steps that it will take. So if and project planning is very important, because sometimes when you are going about it, some features selection techniques and experimenting with features, and you estimated that 50 features would be there, and sometimes you have to explore 50 more. So you'll have to keep a window for that there might be some change of plans here. So project planning is a very important step. And once you have your project plan in place, literally your 10% work is done of that project. And this is the step where most of the scientists actually face a lot of difficulty in industry. And once you have that in place, and data preparation step will go fine, and then after data preparation, uh, the feature EDA would be fine, and EDA after EDA feature selection should go fine, and feature after feature selection, then comes the modeling part. So modeling part comes a bit later. First, there are so many steps to it, and in modeling part, you have to divide the data into 4 parts, not only train, test, split. So once you divide, what are those 4 parts? Training set is one, test set is one, validation set is one, and out of time samples. So in validation set, why validation set is important, that you will have to tune your model hyperparameters on validation set. You cannot tune your hyperparameters on test set, or or not out of time samples. So once you have your validation set, you can tune your hyperparameters on that. Uh, so, and out of time samples is the recent observations the that you have for that, and you'll have to check your model on recent observations as well. Sometimes what happens that the trend changes. So there was a model in our production recently that my colleague has built. It was performing well for 1.5 years, and certainly we were checking its efficacy. We call it efficacy in life insurance industry. The output of the model, it started declining this. So it was a shock for us, because we were monitoring it, and but it was such a shock that we couldn't do it, retrain it within few days. It would take time, so we are rebuilding it. So it's always important to test your model on recent observations. And once you divide your data in these four sets, and you choose an algorithm, and you will have to try every algorithm that you know that you think should be relevant to the problem set, and try experimenting with it. And what you need to do is tune your parameters on validation set, as I said. But why parameter tuning is important? Sometimes even the base algorithms, like simple algorithms like random forest decision trees, would give you better results by parameter tuning that the advanced algorithms like XGBoost, etc. will not give. So, and once you build your model, and you suppose you choose a deep learning model like ANN or something like that, or XGBoost, and you go in a meeting with a stakeholder, the first question that would come your side would be, why this algorithm, and why not random forest or this other algorithm? So you should be able to answer that. The hyperparameter tuning, after even after hyperparameter tuning, this algorithm was performing better, and then we choose that algorithm. So you should always store your results in your in your laptop, or wherever you on the server, you wherever you are working. And the thing I was telling about hyperparameter tuning, that it takes a lot of time and storage, so, and computation time as well. So you should think about from that perspective always, that you should compute that time in your incorporate the time in your project planning. So in order to after you have done the modeling part, you'll have to test your variables that you know, and you will have to test it on out of time samples as well. And once you're this is the modeling part. In some organizations, you will have to implement the model yourself as well. So if you are working in a startup, you'll have to develop the API yourself for implementing that model. So do learn how to build API on top of it, at least for machine learning models in Flask or Django, to implement those models. Most of the organizations have data engineers and have IT teams who will implement it for you, but be ready. You can be asked to implement them as well if you work in a startup, or some companies, even mid-level companies, may ask you to implement those models in production yourself. So yeah, that's another challenge. And once you have done the build the APIs, you always have to test your APIs thoroughly, and then you can always implement them on, host them on AWS or Azure or whatever platform your company chooses. So, and when you are implementing your project yourself, then you have to always think from that perspective, that if your company uh, is if your model is using some variables, and if that variables stop coming into the database, or start throwing null values due to some XYZ reason, then what you will do? So you will always have to exceptional handling of those variables. So exceptional handling is very important when you put your models into production. Otherwise, what will happen, that you put your model into production, it is running fine, no one will have a problem with it. The day it stops running fine because some variables are not coming in database or are throwing null values, you will have a very big problem. And depends the implementation it's having. So suppose your model is integrated in some other application that of the company, uh, that will also get affected because of your model results. So these are very common scenarios, and this can happen. So uh, I, does anyone have a question? Then I can carry forward. Anyone? No. So
Hi, sir.
hi,
I have a question. So my name is Lendl. So actually, there's no light and a reason. So few of us are watching from the same person screen. You started off saying that in the insurance industries, ML machine learning is used in fraud detection.
Yeah.
So you gave us an example in how people, like, even when they have terminally ill conditions, they come and then they try to claim insurances. So I wanted to understand what else, how exactly, in what other, like fraud detection, what
Yeah.
other aspects in the insurance sector does machine learning be used? Like like in my head, I had an idea, like what about underwriting? Because when you're deciding the premium for a particular person who wants to get insured, there are various factors you all consider. So
Yeah.
how is machine learning used in the underwriting process? And if
Yeah.
it is used, then what are the features like to which more weightage is given, and how does that process go about? Like,
Yeah, sure. That's a very nice question. And there are several features, like whether the person is smoking or not, or what's his income, or what's the city that he's coming from, and whether the person is from salary or from business. And uh, these are some of the variables that are being considered, and the weightage, I cannot disclose the company's actual weightage with you, but
yes.
yeah, you can that you can decide for yourself when you will build a model. And for how it is being used in underwriting. So there is a early claim model in our company which is being used. Suppose I am an applicant. I i uh, fill an application to get insured, and when I fill an application to get insured, so there's with this model will run, the model that my colleague has built, it will give me a score of high 0, high 1, low uh, and low 1. So all some of the low 1 and low etc cases will not go to the underwriting team, and there's a FCO unit. So these risky applications will go to that unit, and there would be extra scrutiny on them to like XYZ documents would be asked them, and information would be gathered before issuing a policy to them.
Yes. So just to another question, like you mentioned, you'll have a score sheet, like you said. So because basically for our capstone, I wanted to include the like underwriting premium prediction regression model, but then we were lacking in what kind of data to collect. So like right now you mentioned you'll have a score sheet where you'll classify the risks like low risk, and then the low risk are like taken care of and the high risk go to the underwriter.
Yeah.
So now there are different types of insurances. Now you all are like keeping in mind life insurance only, like PNB Metlife. So
Yeah.
do you all have like a score sheet, this reference sheet like every insurance company has? So as a budding data scientist, like I'm finding it very difficult to build a project. So should I like how should I work on this if like my interest is in insurance? How do I go about it? Because building a model at my stage without data is very difficult. It doesn't make sense because data is very important. So
Yeah.
at this stage I am, what should I do and what should my approach be?
So this is again a very nice question, but so I don't think so that any company would share its internal data with you just so, that you can complete your project. I think that would be very
Yes, sir.
unrealistic expectation. You can go about it is gathering the data from net. The best people have put insurance data sources on GitHub, and if you are lucky enough, you might find it on Kaggle as well. It might not be very updated data, and the quality may be low, but I think you will find uh, it might be the right step for you. At least you will get a head start from there.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. And so one last question: like, are different models used for different types of insurances in underwriting premium prediction, like in the underwriting process, like, or how do you all go about that?
So different type of algorithms is used in different types of problems. That's for sure. And you have to try that which algorithm is giving you the best result. Once you get that algorithm, you just have to tune its parameters. Yeah.
So say once you make it into the insurance industry and you're working with an insurance company,
Yeah.
that time modeling the data, like the whole procedure which you explained to us and how to go about what to look at, which parameters, like feature scaling, feature engineering, and all these processes. Like once you have the complete data available in within your company,
Yeah.
then the modeling process is somewhat easier. Like as for me, like sitting outside the industry wanting to solve a problem is not feasible, but once I break through into the industry, then would that aspect be possible?
So see, there is it will be definitely be possible considering which company you are working for and what is their data types and how they have stored their data, and it lot depends on the stakeholders you are working for. But yeah, once you get in the industry, at least the data part problem is solved up to an extent. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Karthik. So, any other questions if anyone has? No. So, there another part that I forgot to tell you guys that there's also the feature engineering part where you have to think of exploring building new features yourself. So sometimes the variance in the feature is not much. So you'll have features in your data set that are coming out to be useless. But from those features, a new feature can be built, and that can be useful for the model, and uh, it can come out as important feature. So let me help you uh, with an example. So there was a feature that I was working on. So AFYP is the annual income, that annual premium of the customer that he pays on a policy, and income is the yearly income of that customer. So we had those features separately. They were not coming out to be useful, but once we made a ratio of AFIP to income, it was coming out to be useful for our model. So this like this, there can be several examples. So you can always have to think that apart from the features that are given in your data set and external features that I talked about, you'll have to experiment and think that which features can you build from your side. And you suppose you are building a model for a claims team or some other team. You'll have to always interact with them and understand the data from their perspective as their subject matters on that, and they'll have a in-depth knowledge of that. So you'll always have to use their experience while building your models. So otherwise what happens that if you solely work on your model this and not have conversations with the team you're building model for, it would be very, it would be very bad. It would not come as a very uh, uh, very good experience of the model for you. So it will not be very high performing model as per my experience. So it's always better to communicate with the stakeholders that you're building the model for, or the team you're building the model for. It will help you understanding the data better, and it will always help you in the modeling aspect as well. And it also sets the expectations right. So that's from my experience that I gathered. And the other thing that I suggest is always experiment with other techniques as well. So in overall modeling technique that I can see, one is the statistical techniques that are used, like hypothesis testing, etc. And the other techniques are machine learning algorithms like decision trees, etc. Excuse me. The other is the deep learning algorithm techniques, and the other is in deep learning algorithm techniques like auto encoders, etc. And the other technique that can we recently use is in sort of reinforcement learning. That is, we are just exploring it. So we have not made further developments into it, but we are just exploring it. So that has been a new part for us. And whenever you face a situation that you have a lot of features and you don't have any idea about them, you can always go for dimensionality reduction. So in dimensionality reduction, I think all you have idea of PCA, and the other techniques in deep learning similar to PCA. There's a concept called autoencoders. Autoencoders is used for a lot of things. It can be used for feature engineering as well. So I just experimented it recently. So there was a toy data set that I built from make classification function in scikit-learn, and there I built a small logistic regression function before doing any dimensionality reduction. It was giving me a loss of around zero point 0.3 something, but when I did auto encoding, it was giving me around 99.56% accuracy. But I know it was overfitting. So, but it was just an experiment to play and learn for autoencoders. So the other technique is the other issue is not technique, is overfitting. Whenever you have a problem for overfitting, you can always go for lasso regularization techniques like lasso and ridge regression. Lasso and ridge regression, what they actually do, that they penalize the features that are overfitting. So they penalize the coefficients of it that are overfitting the variables, overfitting your model. So they'll penalize those variables, and your model will not overfit eventually. So this is one way to deal with overfitting. There are several other ways, that decreasing the number of variables and choosing a number of choosing another algorithm, or if you're using tree-based algorithms, use minimum number of max depth and number of leaves. So there are several techniques that can be done in that case. So the other thing that I thought about, I talked about, was early claims. So I'll have like to go a bit in depth of it. So in early claims, what happens that, as I explained to Karthik, there's an applicant who would like to take insurance from us. We gather his information. Once we have his information, basic information, we built a model on it, and it will go through the model. And once it go through our model, it will give that whether it is a high risk customer or a low risk customer for us. In high and low also, there are different bands. So according to that, we give it to for further investigation, or we directly let the customer pass through our systems, and a policy is issued to him. So so this is how it goes. And there are different channels through which the life insurance company operates through. So you must have heard of LIC agents and everything. So LIC agent is what? Agency channel. So all agents are called, it comes under agency channel. The another channel that we have is online channel. From online channel like Paisa Bazaar, etc. These are under online channels. Yes, Ishangi, you can unmute and ask your question.
Sorry, sir, if I interrupted you, but I just wanted to ask on the same lines as what we are discussing.
Yeah.
So suppose I have a data set which is predicting the total charges a hospital will charge if you are getting a certain treatment, you are staying for a certain number of days, and basis what is the severity of your ailment and all that. So there are 4-5 features, and those features I have label encoded, and the values are coming somewhere between 1 to 300, 0 to 300 after label encoding. That means that are the options.
Okay.
While the total charges could be in lakhs.
Okay.
So do I also need to normalize my total charge before modeling, before going for the final model?
So you are trying to predict charges.
Yes.
This is your output variable, right?
Yes.
And you have 3-4 other features.
Yes.
And you
which are my input independent variables. Yes.
And you label encoded them, and
Yeah.
you have around 1 to 300 would be the
values are after the label encoding. Like there are those number of unique rows.
Unique rows. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you can try normalizing it, but I think you can try another encoding techniques as well. If you go for one-hot encoding, it will create a large number of features for you.
Yes.
But
label encoding. No, so my question is that whether I should be normalizing the Y variable also, because in a normal scenario, we say that all these pre-processing techniques are to be used only with our X and not with our Y.
Yeah, pre-processing techniques shouldn't be used with Y normally, and I do not like to use it myself, because all the relations in the equation get disturbed. So you can, I think, don't think so that you should do it, but you can always try and experiment. It will
Okay.
take a lot of time, and I don't, without seeing your data, I don't have an exact answer, but in generally, don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Fine. So there is a possibility that if I normalize my Y also, like bring down the, because in Y, the total charges which I'm trying to predict might range between 10,000 to 10 lakhs. Right.
Uh,
So,
can you please repeat?
so the total charges, the Y column, my dependent variable
Yeah.
might range between 10,000 to 10 lakhs. So
Okay.
there is a huge range. While my other X variable is maximum between 0 to 300, because they are all categorical, and that's the maximum number of categories any one column might have.
Okay. So, how come there is no numerical column in it? First question. I can't stop wondering about it.
So there is one which is the length of the stay, the duration of the stay at the hospital.
Okay.
Other than that, there is only like gender, like your age group, It's not just direct age. It's the age group is divided into groups. Like it's 0 to 17 years. Then you are an adult, you are a young person, or you are an old person, or somebody who is above 70 years, likewise.
So,
So
Ishangi, first, you have age group categories. If I remember, yeah.
yes, age groups are divided into
So you
categories.
can take the average of 17 and 0 and make it as a numerical feature and try that and see how your data is interacting with that, why a feature is
Okay.
interacting with that, and you
So
can yeah
so
yeah.
so is it a necessity to have at least one or more numerical values in your data set? Will it not work if you have all the categorical values and you convert them to a numerical value?
Usually I think it doesn't work that way. So because I'll explain why.
Yes, sir.
Because if you see, if you are having label encoded features 1 to 300,
Hmm. Yes,
it
sir.
your model will always give preference to three values which are greater in number. It will give preference to two more and one less, and three more and two less. So it as the value increases, the weightage will to that row will increase. So the interactions between the equation that we have will get disturbed. So that's the reason that if you I suggested you to use some other encoding technique on that feature, or use that feature in some other sense. Because what you can do, another thing that I usually follow, that I take suppose you take value counts of that feature. Once
Yes, sir.
you have the value counts, you can select the top 10 categories,
Okay.
create others column, others category, and put the remaining uh, portion into others category. And then you can use one hot encoding for that.
Okay.
You will have 10 features for that
Yes.
variable, and then 11 features, but one would be the top 10 and one would be the other feature. And then see how your, I'm sure your output variable would interact better with it.
Okay. I understand, sir. Okay.
So and see if there is the feature is not capturing any variance
Hmm.
between there is with the output variable. So there's no point of using it in whatever algorithm you use. If the features are not having variance among it, it will not work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sir. Fine.
Hi.
Thank you.
I think uh, Saurabh, are you here with us? Yeah. The average duration of completing a model is usually 4 months, 4 months, 4 to 5 months for me. It can varies from 3 to 5 actually. Yeah, and sometimes if the pressure is high, you have to complete it faster. That's the reality. I won't say lie. No. On that note, I think I would like to end now, and I don't have any more suggestion, knowledge. I don't have any more inter knowledge to give you now, and I would I definitely have some suggestions that you should always keep on learning, even you get placed and even after you keep on working for 4 or 5 years, because even my bosses who have worked for 20 years keep on learning new skills and are very enthusiastic. So be enthusiastic and be open to learn even after getting placed. That's one suggestion from my side. It has been a pleasure talking with you all. So, and thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Good evening, Abhishek. This is Nida here. So we are getting some questions from the other channel. Just if you can, there are people from different backgrounds attending your session. So if you can just for 2 minutes, if you can guide them, how would people from different background, how is it for people for different background to get into data science? So
Sure.
there are people from different backgrounds like coding, non-coding, commerce, lot of other backgrounds,
Yeah.
and they want to get into data science. So what should be their way to get into this? So if you can just brief a little on that.
See, I'm very honest with you guys that I'm myself from a commerce background. I'm a BCom grad, and so honest answer would be to work twice as hard from these coders. You'll have to learn coding at any cost, whichever the programming language that is in at that time. You'll have to learn it and at a fast speed. So that's the honest answer, yeah. And you will have to learn databases and keep updating yourself, and it will not be easy. You'll feel that you have to give up. I have myself felt it when I was completing this course and there were assignments, and then I had to do online courses as well, and I was interviewing for different companies. So it's not an easy job uh, for not coming from a programming background and doing this course, but it is definitely possible. Many people have done that, and it is definitely possible for you as well. Any more questions, Nita?
No, that's it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you.
Thanks, Ankita.
Yeah.